On the Banks of Joyce Creek, Corsicana, by Jeannie Bates Eubanks. In an extremely southwest corner of Missouri flowed a tiny, usually peaceful little stream of water named Joyce Creek. Nestled for many years between banks of overgrown brush and timber, it sometimes trickled across sharp rocks or ran lazily through sunlit ripples of shallow water to flow more swiftly down and over smooth, slick rocks to the beautiful, picturesque falls and deeper pools of blue-green waters. It ran past farms and homes that earlier had been settled by good, hard-working German and Polish people. It provided a place to drink for farm animals, pets, poultry, as well as wild animals, gentle songbirds, game birds, and all kinds of hawks, owls, and vultures. Adults and children alike fished, swam, splashed, played, bathed, and washed their clothing there. It rambled past a cemetery located on land nicknamed Copperhead Hill. And in the 19th century, Joyce Creek flowed through a bustling, busy boomtown named Corsicana. In wagon trail days, there were several thriving businesses, such as a store built by Silas May in 1870, blacksmith shops, a drugstore owned by Dr. Overton, a creamery, and as improbable as it may seem, perhaps even a horse racing track. There were houses scattered about and roads with traffic, and the heart of the community and the key to the economy were the big mills that constantly worked, grinding cornmeal, wheat into flour, and making all kinds of grain products. At one time, there was one owned by a man and his son named Blankenship. And of course, the power for the mills was provided by Joyce Creek. A little later, there was a canning factory where ladies worked for a few nickels a day, peeling tomatoes until their hands were raw and bleeding. There was a little white schoolhouse up on a hill where a man by the name of Charles Fraser taught classes. And there was a grocery store and a station with fuel for gas-powered automobiles. N.L. Barney and Lucille Bates owned the store there for many years. Their home was across the road southwest of the store. There was a home owned by Chart and Nora Garrison that had been partially built about 1880, which is still standing. There were homes of the John Rogers family, the Simpsons, and the former Clarence Adderhall house, which was now occupied by the widow Ellen and her second husband, W.E. Bill Smith, a kinder and more gentle man will never be known. The years rolled by and Little Joyce Creek saw many weddings, music parties, gambling games, brush arbors, and people lived and died. It watched the effects of the Depression years on the families, and it saw many families tearfully divided when members went off to war, especially World War II. But life went on. The people grew their own vegetables, fruits, and meats as much as possible, but sold their eggs at the little store where they were taken to Monette, Missouri, and sold again. At Christmas time, it was Lucille Bates's pleasure to fill as many large food baskets with fruit, nuts, candies, and whatever else she thought would be a treat to the families that came to the store. Many children had never had oranges except at this time. Then, on a Halloween evening in 1943, Joyce Creek saw a tornado sweep through, destroying everything in its path. The whirling, twisting winds demolished the peaceful little community in only a few seconds, leaving boards and straws driven into the oak trees along the hillsides near the creek, and twisted metal everywhere from the canning factory. It washed sun perch and other fish out of the water and dropped them on the ground to die. It took the barns away from the cows waiting to be milked. It picked up the school and scattered it in the trees on the hill. Chickens ran around, if not half dead, scared to death, with feathers blown off. The Bates home was flattened with the exception of one leaning wall, which was held up by a rafter. Lucille had gathered her 2 daughters in front of the west wall of the kitchen where they stood watching as everything was swept away, with bricks driven through the floor and ground just in front of their feet. Miraculously, no one was killed, but Lucille was hit by a flying glass and blood gushed from the slashed vein in her head. Barney Bates was in the army and halfway around the world and received a telegram notifying him that there had been a tornado that blew Corsicana away, but he didn't know until later that his family was alive. The Red Cross moved in soon to help any way possible, and crowds of people came from everywhere to see the damage. Lucille and the girls stayed with Sophia and Harry Boyce until they bought a home in Wheaton, Missouri. Barney was discharged in January of 1945. Corsicana became a thing of the past, never to be the same again. Joyce Creek flowed on by with many memories.
First of all,